Greetings. This is the COVID-19 service plan changes that are proposed for January 2021. My name is Christina Zazueta. I am the Community Engagement Manager for RTD, and I will be presenting with my colleague, Jessie Carter, about the information that is coming for the proposed service changes and some updates for RTD. First, I'll start with one of our major updates. We have a brand new General Manager and CEO. Her name is Deborah Johnson, and she is going to be the first woman to lead RTD as a general manager and CEO in our history. She has over 25 years of diversified and progressively responsible experience in the transit industry, and she has held executive positions at Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, San Francisco Municipal Transit Agency, Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, as well as Long Beach Transit. Ms. Johnson will start with us on November 9th. Now I'll go through some of the updates regarding COVID-19 and the effects it's had on our agency. We have seen that ridership has dropped 70%, and that was initially when COVID-19 first started, and it is still currently down about 60%. Pre-COVID, we were seeing about 350 boardings per day, and now we are seeing about 148 boardings per day. So there has been a change in our boarding quantity. In April, we responded to COVID-19 by cutting service 40% and suspending fares through July 1st. Since then, we have reinstated fares, and we are still operating under a service reduction, which we'll go through in just a moment. Because of COVID-19, and just like many other businesses and operations in our city, we are requiring masks to be worn while you're riding in our services. We have changed the capacity loads on our buses and trains to maintain social distancing. So what we're doing is keeping a close eye on those passenger loads to make sure that we do encourage the social distancing needed. We're cleaning our system and sanitizing our buses and trains daily. And as we've moved through this process, we have been in close communication and monitoring very closely other agencies regarding public transportation in other areas. And what we're seeing is that there are some reports out of Japan, New York, France, Spain, and other places that indicate public transit is not a big transmitter of COVID-19. And there are a lot of good articles on the internet that go into the details of why this is. But partially it is because of the way the air does circulate in the vehicles and the ability for these vehicles to have fresh air come in from the outside because the doors open fairly frequently. And so that introduces fresh air, it circulates fresh air, and it helps reduce the possibility for transmissions. So just like many other industries, COVID-19 has impacted RTD's primary sources of revenue. We rely heavily on sales and fare revenues, and those are currently down from what we would normally receive. Our current situation is that we have 40% of our ridership that we had previous to COVID. We also are providing 60% of the service level that we were providing before COVID. And we have 100% of our staff currently. So as you can see, our situation around what is being used in our area has changed. And one of the things that we were able to receive from the government as far as aid to help us during this process was that we received $232 million in CARES Act funding. That funding is to be used for COVID-specific expenses. That includes personal protective equipment and cleaning supplies. It would go for operating costs associated with our COVID-19 or pandemic service plan. It went towards personnel to help keep our system safe and operating and clean, as well as it kept a lot of our folks employed during this time. So the CARES Act funding will be expended by the end of this year, and it is to be used on a reimbursement basis. So we did not receive that in a lump sum, but we then submit for expenses to be covered. And again, they have to be related to COVID-19. At this point, we have not received word of any additional funding. The continue the activities that I've mentioned above, but we are hopeful that that is something that we'll see in the near future. So with this, we are facing a new financial reality. We are planning for a projected $250 million budget shortfall in 2021. And so this means that because we are going to see the shortfall, we are making decisions around what we can do to help prepare for that shortfall. We're deferring and eliminating some of the capital and maintenance projects that we had planned. We have implemented furloughs and this year, and we will have furloughs in 2021, as well as potentially some salary reductions for salaried and administrative staff. There will be no pay increases in the next year, and there are going to be some staff reductions, which currently we are projecting at slightly over 500 part-time and full-time positions that are currently filled in the salaried and in the union side. This number will fluctuate as more detailed information comes in, so this is going to be a number that changes. And RTD will have to remain flexible as it responds to this information and as conditions change. So a little bit of a glimmer of hope here, or a glimmer of information that we feel is something that's positive, is that we recently opened the N line, and that opened on September 21st. It adds 13 miles of commuter rail to our existing network in the Denver metro area. And this rail line travels between Denver through Commerce City, North Glen, and up to Thornton. Something that we are doing different regarding the opening of this commuter rail line is that we have implemented a promotional fare pilot through March 27, 2021. And this means that we have a local fare for the entire line, and that is different than what we would have normally seen, in which there might be a local fare zone and a regional fare zone along that line. So in other words, you can pay $3 and travel the entirety of the line, and instead of paying a regional fare, which is more than $3. And discount fare options are available, of course, for qualified riders. The N line runs at a 30-minute frequency between 4 a.m. and 11 p.m. So we hope to see you out there. This line runs through various areas of our city and our metro area, and there are some very nice places to stop along the way. All right, so now I will pass it over to my colleague, Jessie Carter, who is the RTD Service Planning and Scheduling Manager, who will go through the specifics of the upcoming service changes. Jessie?
Thank you, Christina. One of the things I want to make sure is very clear in describing this plan is that we are currently operating under the Pandemic Service Plan, and this is an adjustment to that same plan. So we're not out of COVID just yet, and the proposals that are in the January service plan are an adjustment to our current plan. At this point in time, RTD will need to rebalance our services to continue to keep up with the demands on routes that have the highest ridership. And at this point in time, that looks to be some of our larger local services. RTD is also proposing to suspend some underperforming routes, which will allow for us to provide resources on those routes that are performing well. So for instance, there are a number of routes that are regional services that are not performing very well. We're proposing to suspend those services during this time frame. The routes that are currently proposed for service improvements are more often, they serve our transit-dependent communities. And that's one of the key principles of what we are trying to do with this service change. Alternative services such as van pools and vouchers for rideshare companies are being considered at this point in time, and we hope to bring to the board in October a more solidified plan for how those alternatives will be offered. Moving on, so we have three routes that are proposed for suspension. These are all regional services. So the CSCV coming from the Southwest Jeffco County area, and also from the Golden Boulder area, we have the GS, which are proposed to be, again, suspended. We have five routes proposed for reduced services. Those are the weekend service on the Route 20, some late night service on the 51, which is our Sheridan Crosstown, and some changes to a segment on the Route 205 and changes to frequency on the 225 and 228. There are 10 routes proposed for service modifications, and these include things that are aimed at improving on-time performance and will result in schedule modifications. Those will occur on the 0, 15, 15L, 16, 28, 31, 32, 34, 44, and 83. The mall ride on 16th Street Mall is also proposed to actually extend the AM peak service. So we'll be trying to provide better service in the morning, but we're doing that by reducing some of the midday service frequency. Some of the larger service changes that we are proposing in this adjustment actually impact the light rail service that we provide. And any of these changes, what we're trying to do is simplify our rail system by combining current line patterns into single line patterns. For instance, with the C and D line, we are proposing to consolidate the C and D to operate the D line pattern, which goes into central downtown. We also are proposing to adjust the weekday service frequency to 30 minutes between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. and 15-minute frequency from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 30-minute frequency from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. This will allow for a wider maintenance window for our operations or maintenance of way operations. We are also doing the same type of widening of the maintenance of way maintenance period on weekends. So the service will operate between from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. with a 30-minute frequency, and from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. with a 15-minute frequency, and 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. with a 30-minute frequency between 10 and 11 p.m. The same type of changes are proposed for the E and F lines. The E and F lines are proposed to consolidate the E and F to actually provide service on the E line between Union Station and Ridgegate Parkway Station. Weekday service will be adjusted from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. with 30 minutes frequency, from 4 to 6 a.m., 15-minute service frequency from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and 30-minute frequency from 10 to 11 p.m. Weekend service span will also be from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. with 30-minute frequency from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 15-minute frequency from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 30-minute frequency from 10 to 11 p.m. Additional changes on light rail will include adjusting the service to be consistent with the D and E lines on the H line. Weekday service hours on the H line will operate from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m., again, broadening that maintenance of way window, with 30-minute frequency from 4 to 6 a.m. and 15-minute frequency from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 30-minute frequency from 10 to 11. Weekend service hours will be from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. and 30-minute frequency from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. with 15-minute frequency from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 30-minute frequency from 10 to 11. We also will see a shift on the R line, changing or truncating the service from Ridgegate to Lincoln. So in other words, the R line will operate from Smith and Peoria Station down to Lincoln Station, like it did prior to the Siri extension. And lastly, the W line service changes will actually provide for an improvement in the AM peak between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Between Denver Union Station and the Federal Center. So we're also adjusting the service hours to provide, again, for that maintenance of way window from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. And also to create, and I'm sorry, I have to correct myself, from weekday frequency between Jeffco Government Center and Union Station will provide a 30-minute frequency from 4 to 11 p.m. And then we'll also provide a 30-minute frequency between Federal Center to Union Station at between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., which will provide a 15-minute combined frequency between Federal Center and DUS. So that kind of sums up all the changes that we have at this point in time. However, this whole process is being done so we can actually collect public comments from you, the customer, and your comments will be included, of course, in the RTD Board of Directors report. The final day to submit your comments for inclusion in this report is October 14th. Comments can be submitted also to service.changes@rtd-denver.com. You can also call at 303-299-2004. I also want to extend an invitation to join our live virtual meetings. For more information about that, please visit rtd-denver.com/service-changes or call 303-299-6000. Thank you.